Hi, everyone. We are here today, Agnes and Marvin, and we've got a little topic or two or three actually for you. Hello, Marvin.
What's going on?
Good to see you.
As always, you as well.
Uh, we have got three little topics and we're going to go through them. Number one, what do you do if you are in a situation where you're in the friend zone? Number two, what do you do when you would like commitment and you haven't got it? And number three, what to do when your old fearful stories are playing themselves again and again. What can you do about that? So let's go back to number one. Marvin, what are your thoughts about what can people do when they're in the friend zone?
What can people do if they're in the friend zone? So I think everything that we talk about is always nuanced. Um, I think that there's different. So you got to first. You got to ask yourself: are you constantly in the friend zone? Right. So are you somebody that is this your first time in the friend zone,
Mm,
or have you for the last 5, 10 years, whenever you deal with men whenever you deal with women, are you constantly in the friend zone? So I think addressing your patterns, because
mm,
it can be tricky if this is your first time versus if this is your 10th time, or people just never look at you as a candidate. And um, I think that there's always those underlying issues, like you always say. Do you have friend zone beliefs? You know what I mean, about yourself? Are you
mm.
constantly telling yourself, I always get friend zone, I always get friend zone, I always, because those are inner conversations, right?
Yes.
Affirmations and stuff like that that we're telling ourselves. And so if you have that inner conversation with yourself, I'm always friend zones, they never pick me, they always pick my friends. Why do my friends always get picked? Affirmations, as you've heard that
Mm,
people say, um, then I just think that this is going to be the reality. It's always a inward reflection. And so I think if you can address those uh, questions, then I think the answer will be clear as to why you get friend zoned. Because it's never, I think we like to always place blame on the person that we're dealing with. I think I see that a lot with relationship stuff and like working with people one on one, as you do as well. I see
mm,
a lot of it's always deflecting. And like I think one of the red pill moments for manifestors to have is that manifestation literally, I mean, pretty much everybody says it, whether it's Neville, whether it's Abraham Hicks, it literally is you. You are the cause. And I know people don't like that, especially people that are used to being in victim mentality and victim mode, which I don't subscribe to, because that keeps you stuck. It doesn't help you evolve when you play that victim role. I always tell people, whatever the original sin is, might not have been your fault. But if you keep committing that original sin year after year after year after year after year, then that turns into it being your fault. So, you have to address you have to address that problem, that original sin. And I think that red pill moment, like I said, in manifesting is understanding that you are the cause. I know people don't like hearing that, and I've heard different YouTubers or whoever say things like, "Oh, you're not supposed to say that to people. You're not supposed to shame them or make them feel guilty," and different things like that. But it's like, in my opinion, I'm not shaming. Like, I notice when people hear you, a lot of people hear different things. So I may be saying something
yes.
to people, and if I say something to 100 people, 20 of those people are going to hear something totally different than the other 20. And when you listen with victim ears, you've already lost the battle. You've literally
Yeah.
already lost the battle, because you understand, when we're saying this stuff to you, we're not trying to victimize you or hurt you. We just want you to take the glasses off. We want you to be able to see, like, take the veil off, lift it, so you can see clearly. And I think like I said, the moment that most manifestors need to have is, a lot of the stuff that we're going through is we're causing it, especially if we continue to go through it. Like I said, if you continue to get friend zone time after time after time after time, then it's clearly a belief that you have about yourself that you need to address. But if this is your first time,
Mm,
you've never been friend zoned before, then this could be a situation that could be different. But I mean, you can tell me your thoughts.
Mm. Yeah, it's this has got many layers. It's a fuzzy target, as they say. It's um I think a big one in the friend zone, and it's been coming at me from different people in different directions probably for about a month.
Mm,
And it's the I don't comfortable in my own body. I hate my bum. I hate my puppy fat, whatever it is. I don't like my lips. I don't like my hair. And it's this self criticism that goes on. It's not necessarily that you say it out loud to others,
right,
but the fixation with some kind of perfection, whatever that is for you, because it's different things for different people. This fixation with the over analyzing and criticizing how we're made, how we're packaged, and how we look. And then this longing to look a different way, that vibration in a dynamic of friends, when you would like more from somebody, you can't be doing that if you want that relationship to change. You can't be in this self loathing, which it is in a lot of ways, self loathing, self criticism, self judgment, self analysis in a negative way, because that energy is emitting towards the people around you, but in particular, because this is the one that's important to you, the romantic sexual relationship with that person, that is felt by them. The
mm,
more you, and this comes back to the topic we always talk about, self-love. If you really love yourself, you're not going to be judging and criticizing how you were made. Now, there is an exception. If you're not taking care of yourself, through addictions, through overeating, through just not treating yourself very well physically, then that's something you can correct to help you feel better about yourself. But it's also the mental inner conversation, which you said, about how do you feel about you. And I think I will say this about men and women. I think a lot of men are repelled by a woman's fixation about the things that are wrong with her, and that they pick that up. And it is a repellent in energy because there's a feeling of uh, self consciousness,
right,
especially when you get, say, naked, when you go to the
right,
beach together, when you whatever you do where you're not fully clothed. And obviously in summer, we're wearing a lot less clothes. So your body is out there more, depending on what you're
right,
wearing. So I do think this is a big, big topic of women. You've got to stop this self criticism because it is definitely impacting being in friend zone situations and repelling. Say you've been in a relationship with someone and then you've been friend zoned, or that you've been left and abandoned, how you feel about your body and yourself, not just your affirmations through your inner world, is going to be enough. There has to be where you do positive affirmations, but then you stop doing the negative affirming as well
right.
about the self. So yeah, I think this is a really important one, Marvin, because it's like this. I don't know if men get to hear these conversations so much, but within women's conversations, I hear this topic at least 5 times a week, whether it's in my personal life or in my work, women making negative statements about themselves.
Mm.
And that, how do you, I mean, as a man, do you hear that part of women talking, or is that kind of something that they don't say to you so much?
Well, yeah, when I work with people one on one, that is something that I hear for sure. But from the men's side, no, we really don't. I've noticed that a lot of times, like men, we really don't focus on external stuff like that, as far as like looks and
Yeah.
certain things like that. And if we do focus on external things, it's probably around maybe finances,
Yeah.
money and stuff like that. Like, oh, I got to get my money right, or I'm not making the amount of money that I want to make. But so
Yeah.
it's in a different way, but it's not on looks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I guess maybe that's the difference is, women may do this type of stuff or have those inner conversations about um their appearance, and men may have those kinds of inner conversations about whatever work they're doing, if they're
Yeah.
making enough money, if they're not making enough money.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's a different focus. It's just the areas where we feel more insecure as a gender.
Right. And I think I just think societal programming from decade after decade after decade after decade, whenever propaganda began, television, whenever stuff started being broadcasted, whenever these big things started to go into effect, 100, 200 years ago, because really over the past couple of 100 years is when stuff really started to change, when
Mm.
stuff was being broadcasted on television and radio, and people learned how to influence people, different things like the CIA and governments, like these governments, marketing companies, all of these people know how to influence women. They know how to influence men,
Yes.
marketing companies, they know how to target us. And so I think whenever all of this started is when, we are in 2023, we are just living, you know, from the, if you want to say original sins of those being started from all those years ago. Like it's a gift and a curse, because now we are paying the price of all of the, propaganda that was done to us, in my opinion, however many, whether it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whenever all of this started. And so, we are a consequence of that programming, and understandably so. But it's our job to do what we're doing now and to take the power back and to realize, oh, okay, I can change this. Oh, okay, I
Mm.
realized the story I was telling myself was a lie about my body. Oh, I realized that I'm worth so much more than how I look, if
Mm.
you're a woman. Oh, I realize I'm worth so much more than how much money is in my bank account, how much money I make if you're a man. Because this is how society, a lot of times, in my opinion, likes to judge men and women, women based on their looks and that sort of thing, and men based on the amount of money they're making. But we provide so much more as human beings. Our presence is much more beautiful, much more valuable than how we look on the outside, or how much money we can bring to the table every month, or what we're paying for. And so I just think that once these inner conversations change for men and women, and you stop telling yourself certain things, then you can get out of that energy, and you can get out, like we're talking about, that friend zone energy. Because you got to ask yourself, when it comes to being in a friend zone, are you a person that always gives off friend energy, right?
Mm.
Like Neville likes to say, or like Greg Braden said in his seminar that he did all those years ago that I talked about on my channel. Greg Braden mentions be enveloped, by your desires, right? Become, and like Neville talks about, become that, like feel that is real. And so if you are somebody and you're not enveloped in I am a girlfriend or I am boyfriend energy, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
for me, I'm gonna say this, and I don't know if my girlfriend's gonna see this. She might see this. I don't know, but like me personally, I've never given off friend energy. Now
Okay.
I don't know what friend energy means.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what that means. Like people have different meanings for whatever, but me, I have always given off boyfriend energy. Like I like him. Like he needs to be my boyfriend. Like I want that guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I do to do that,
Yeah.
but you got to ask yourself, as a
Yes.
woman or as a man, am I giving off relationship energy?
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you need to become that energy, because you're not going to attract what you want unless as we all know, studying this stuff, you have to become what you want to be before you have it, before you attract it,
Yes.
before you attain it. So
Yes.
if you were somebody that's always, like, for instance, if you're somebody always like, I don't know, giving advice, and I know that kind of sounds crazy because boyfriend or girlfriend could give advice too, but if you're somebody that's always like giving advice in a friendly way, or you always are there for somebody and they're like in a friendly way, like there's a way you can be there for somebody in a friendly way versus being there for somebody in a boyfriend or girlfriend way, if that makes sense. I don't know, and it could
Yes.
be nuanced. It could be, it's tricky, but there's a certain type of energy that a person exudes when they are boyfriend, girlfriend type of person versus when they're a friend type. Does that make sense? Like I feel like I'm not making. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know when you're, you're relaxed and you're playful and you're having fun and you're, you know, being a bit flirty and all of that. If you're in the friend zone, you're not flirty. You're um not saying you can't be playful when you're in the friend zone. You can,
Right,
but it's
right, right.
the it's some element of um affection with a bit of sexual connection, I suppose. If you're interested in the person, you wouldn't do that to everybody, but to the person that you're interested in, you would bring that element towards them. So, it's okay. Am I walking around like the nun that's stitched up like this and
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Or are you kind of, much more in the beauty and the love and the fun and the playfulness and the touch or whatever? It doesn't have to be sexual touch. It can be just affectionate touch, and then you see where the other person takes it. But yeah, there's definitely very specific things like that differentiate friends being in the friend zone to being a more viable partner who is in the non-friend zone. So I think too, being not self-conscious is definitely a step in, because when
Yeah.
you're in the friend zone and you want to be not in the friend zone, you get really, okay, what am I going to do, what am I going to say, because I want to make sure I say and do the right thing. And the thing is, that's all coming from the wrong place. It's all coming from, you think what you're doing or what you're saying has to come from the right place, but it's you and how you move through the world. In, I don't need your approval and I certainly don't need your reassurance. That's something that I think people that are in the friend zone, they try and please, they try and get the person's attention, they try and do something interesting for them to look at them or hear them or whatever, and all those things, when it's calculated, it doesn't work, it backfires.
Well said. And what I want to add to that too is because we're talking about energies, and something that's not talked about enough in law of attraction, law of assumption space, in my opinion, is duality, and talking about masculine and feminine. And
Yeah.
I want all the women to understand that most men, and there are always anomalies. Okay, always anomalies. This isn't for everybody. So what I'm about to say doesn't apply to all women, but it applies to a lot of women, in my opinion, if not most women.
Yeah.
Most men, we love feminine women, okay? And masculine feminine dynamic exists. To deny that it exists is basically calling the universe, God, a liar, right? There's opposites attract. There's yin and there's yang. Masculine exists, feminine exists. Men exist, women exist. Feminine and masculine complement each other perfectly. And this
Mm.
is not talked about enough. And so what a lot of women are doing, a lot of women, in my opinion, especially nowadays, they are in the friend zone, a lot of them, because they are giving off masculine energy. They are not in their
Okay.
feminine energy. And a lot of men, especially if a man is masculine or he's more so alpha, or even if he's beta, I'm not beta, even if he's sigma.
Sigma,
Yeah,
yeah.
even when he's sigma, they want a feminine woman. Meaning, not meaning that you don't have masculine, because every human being has masculine and feminine traits. Like we all have it. But which are you predominantly supposed to be in? Which are you more predominantly supposed to be in?
Mm.
And a lot of women nowadays, from what I'm seeing and working with them, one on one, a lot of women are walking around in their masculine frame, and you got to understand that that's going to repel
Yes.
Somebody that's masculine. Two masculine people, it's hard for them to coexist in a relationship because there's going to be constant fighting back and forth. Da 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 da.
Mm.
So a lot of women, you might not realize you are putting yourself in the friend zone simply by being masculine and not being feminine. But once you let that masculine guard down, and
Yeah.
once, like Agnes said earlier, once you become more playful, carefree, and I've seen you make reels about this, beautifully
Yeah.
so. Like the series of reels you were making over the summer and stuff, like talking about how men love carefree women and
Yeah.
playful women and all those types of things. Like those reels were spot on because you're absolutely right. So, ladies, I want you to, think about yourself, your situation. Are you being friend zoned because of the energy you're giving off is masculine instead of being in that natural
Yeah.
feminine nature, which attracts a man to you?
Yeah. And you know where I see this a lot, Marvin, is a woman has got a high powered position or a role where she has to do a lot of the alpha work, whether it's her own business or working for someone else. But then when she leaves work, she doesn't take that hat off. She keeps that hat on when she walks through the door and goes out on a date, or and still continues with giving orders, giving instructions. You sit here, I'm going to order you the steak, and starts doing those things that on the surface don't look bad, and they're not bad per se, but they will backfire on you if you want a relationship with someone that is, say, masculine, and you can then play the feminine. I think this
Right.
is something we're seeing more and more and more because of the way the workplace is set up, and
I
certain,
agree.
yeah, certain industries you see it even more so because of the responsibility that certain people have in their jobs. So it's understandable where it comes from,
It is.
but you got to watch it doesn't leak into your personal life, and then you end up being the alpha woman to a perhaps beta man, and you're the one wearing the pants, so to speak.
Right.
And you don't want to be. You want the man to take control or the man to take charge, but you've put yourself in that role still in your personal life because you haven't separated your work from your personal life to be able to remember, hang on, I've got to relax and be in a more feminine, receptive mode. So
I
yeah, it's an
agree.
interesting thing, isn't it? It's an interesting thing.
No, it is. And like you said, I'm glad you brought that up because at the end, because it goes both ways. So understand, this is what they mean when they say opposite attract,
Mm,
right? This is what they mean when they say opposite attract, because it's very hard for two masculine energies to be in a relationship. The same way it's very hard for two feminine energies, in my opinion, to be in a relationship. So if you are an alpha and you are a woman, like Agnes just said at the end, most likely you're going to attract a beta male. You're going
mm,
to attract a man that is very passive, very submissive, is
yes.
going to take your lead. And a lot of times that doesn't work out. Now, I'm not saying it can't, but a lot of times, in my opinion, it's it that alpha um that alpha beta dynamic, when the woman is the alpha and the man is the beta, it does not work out a lot of
No,
times. It does
no.
not. And I understand there are people out there where that can work, but by and large, in my opinion, the numbers show that it doesn't work unless the guy is the alpha and the woman is the feminine, because these are our natural roles, right?
Yeah,
Our natural roles a lot of times are the guy is the masculine. And let me preface my comments by saying healthy alpha,
yeah,
healthy masculinity. I'm not talking about toxic, you know what I mean, and being a narcissist and it always has to be your. I'm talking about a healthy level of
yeah,
leadership from the from
yeah.
the from the masculine role. And also
Mm.
too, this goes with this is the same with homosexual relationships as well. Even in
Yes.
homosexual relationships, there's always a alpha and there's always a beta. It's no
Mm.
different in a homosexual relationship. So
Yes.
don't think that Agnes and I are just talking about, oh, men and women. Like, no, it could be same sex. There's
Yes.
always usually somebody that's a leader and somebody that's more predominantly a follower. And so it goes both ways.
Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. Well, let's go on to question number two. I'm not getting any commitment and I would like to receive that. What are your words about that?
So again, these things are nuanced. So You know what I realized, Agnes, and working with people? A lot of times people are getting commitment, but it's not the commitment they think they should be getting. So you got to ask
Can,
yourself.
can you give an example?
So say a person is in a relationship with somebody, right? Or they're in contact and they're dating. And say they only go out like once a week or once every 2 weeks. And then that one person's mind, they're like, well, we should be going out more.
Mm,
He should be committed more. You see what I mean?
yeah.
But not realizing maybe he is committed, but maybe all he can do is that one day every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Or that at whatever the time frame is. Maybe that's what that person can only do or she can do. Maybe that's it. So maybe your expectations, maybe you're trying to move too fast with your expectations. Maybe you're trying to get a commitment by getting a proposal from this specific person. You want to get married. You want him to get on one knee to propose to you. But maybe in your mind, your expectations and moving so fast, maybe that person is still committed to you, but maybe that person is not ready. Just because they're not ready to propose when you want them to propose doesn't mean that they're not committed.
Yes. Good point.
So,
Mm,
so what I want to say to people is exactly this: is like a lot of times we get so caught up in our own world, in our own head, and what we think commitment should look like, and we miss the signs that yo, this person actually is committed to me.
mm,
But because they're not overdoing it, because they're not obsessed with me, I think they're not committed.
yeah.
I think that takes a level of honesty and looking in the mirror at yourself and realizing, like, oh, now again, if this is this person now, if we're not talking about this type of commitment, if we're talking about this person is totally like just hot and cold type of behavior, if now this is totally different talking about that level of commitment. You know, if
Yeah.
a person is hot and cold with you and they're not committing, then I obviously, like, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the conversation. This goes back to a inner dialogue thing where you have to look at yourself, you have to look at your subconscious beliefs and ask myself, am I having these inner conversations with myself, telling myself, oh, I never get commit, I never get commitment, I never get commitment. Have your last 5, 10 relationships, whatever the number is, have you always struggled with getting with commitment? Because if you have, then like Neville says, you know, the cause of sin is the cause of the unrevised scenes of the past. And
Yes.
so if you keep repeating that story, if you keep repeating those scenes of all the times that you were not committed to, this is the original sin. So you have to go back and you have to revise that original sin
Mm,
to, oh, I'm always getting commitment. I'm always getting commitment. You know, revise those scenes to how you wish they would have happened to you getting commitment with all of these people. Like everybody wants to, or start saying those affirmations. Everybody always wants to commit to me. You know,
mm,
I give off commitment energy. So
yeah.
the universe has to give me that back in return. Those sorts of
Mm.
things.
I think when you have a presence of calmness and there is an absence of trying to get anything from anyone, commitment being one of those things, you're more likely to receive it because your energy isn't about I I want the commitment. I want the commitment. What can I do to get it? And maybe I'll say to him, yeah, I'm still looking, I'd love to see a ring on my finger. I've heard women say things like that. And I think, wow, that would repel me if I was a man. It would repel me.
Yeah.
A woman saying that, look, I'm still, I'm looking to see if the ring's on my finger, and it's like a poke at the guy, go and buy me a ring so that we can commit to each other. If the person I loved was making those types of comments to me, I would instantly be repelled and I'd go the other way because I think they're not really interested in what I want and I'm part of this relationship. And I would find that offensive. As a person in a relationship, I would find that offensive. So I find if you can, there's no problem to say, look, I actually would like to be committed and to have, children and to get married, and that you're clear about your intention, but that you're not saying, and you have to give it to me. I think that if you can refrain from that and just share what you want as a human being within a relationship, then the person knows where you're at. They know what you desire, and then they can make a decision to be around you and move in that direction or not. But when you're doing that, dropping hints, poking, um, you know, trying to make jokes about it when the person already knows what you're doing,
Right.
I find those behaviors really, if you want commitment, you got to give that stuff up, because it's a massive repellent, massive repellent
I
for
agree.
the. Mm,
I agree. Like speaking from the male perspective,
mm.
100%, because we typically are looked at as that responsibility to do those types of things, whether it's a proposal or whether it's a, pay on the first date or whatever, whatever. And it's like when that energy can be felt, it's tangible. When
Yes,
somebody sends a text message that says something like what you described just
yes,
now, when somebody sends that text or when somebody makes a comment, even when they're playing around,
yes.
it's like you can feel it, and you kind of get like, I don't really like that. The fact that you said that, I don't really like that.
Mm,
And and um and I know as a good thing, like you're, because this really comes down to allowing, in my opinion. Like
mm.
we have to learn how to allow to get the commitment that we want, and that means by surrendering, right? I always tell people manifesting is 80%, the 80-20 rule. Manifesting is 80% feminine, 20% masculine. 20% is deciding on what you want, right? And then maybe taking action here and there between for whatever it is. The 80% is allowing.
Mm.
So most of manifesting is literally the allowing and waiting for the universe to bring to you whatever it is you want. You really don't have to do anything. It's kind of like stock market. It's kind of like day trading. When you're
Yes.
stock market and day trading, you have to wait for the right setups before you
Mm.
trade. You just have to wait. Don't force the trade. This is why a lot of people lose money in trading and stuff like that. It's because they overtrade, they're trying to force the trades. And it's like, stop. You just have to wait for the right setups. And
Mm.
this is the same thing with relationships and manifesting. And you have to
Yes.
wait for the right setups. And I know me personally, I can think of me personally in my relationship with my girlfriend. I want everybody to understand something. I want all the women to listen to what I'm saying, getting ready to say. My girlfriend is amazing. She literally doesn't ask me for nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
But guess what? That makes me want to give her everything.
Yes.
This is how it works, ladies. This is how it literally works. Like my
Mm.
girlfriend is not beating my door down saying, "Oh, give me this, I need this, buy me this, take me here." Da, da, da. She's not doing any of that. But guess what? It makes me want to do it for her regardless. We've probably literally been to over 30 restaurants within a 9-8 month time period. You know what I mean? Why? Because I want to do that.
Yeah.
Why? Because she's giving off that energy of, I don't want anything from you. I'm here to support you. I'm just
Mm.
happy being with you. I'm not demanding. I'm not trying to force. I'm not trying to rush. And like I said, a lot of times women, you guys don't realize, like, men feel that. And like Agnes said earlier, it repels. So if you would just simply just be and be patient and
Mm.
understand that this is another person you're dealing with, then you'll eventually get everything that you want. But just because it didn't happen this year doesn't mean that it's a failure, So
Yeah. Nice. I'm glad you gave the real life experience, because I think, that's not book knowledge, it's not Neville knowledge, it's not Abraham Hicks, it's
right.
our experience and what's working and how it works, the mechanics of how you broke that down. So, yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It really is. And, I had my birthday about a week ago, and my guy's birthday's a week after mine. And
Dad energy.
Sag energy. Yeah, both of us are the same. But it was that thing that you're saying. He planned things like a couple of months in advance for me. And he said, I'm taking you out for a whole day. Wear this, because he knew what activities we were going to do. He said, wear comfortable shoes, or wear long boots, or put on, something, because we're going someplace nice in the evening. So wear something kind of a bit dressy underneath. So that was all the parameters he gave me.
Right.
And we went on a day of the journey he took me to different places for very specific reasons. And he loved to give the surprise, because I don't have an issue if people do something for my birthday or not. I used to years ago, but it's just a day. I'm not 10 years old anymore. I don't need this constant adulation about my age, my birthday. That's just me. And I've let that go, because I just don't think it's worth getting disappointed about things that really aren't that important at the end of the day. So because that is the case, he always comes up with something really interesting, and he has more fun. He says he's more excited about planning my birthday than he is about receiving what I give to him on his birthday.
That's amazing.
He has trouble receiving, and he's kind of, okay, like, don't do too much. And he has trouble with that part of it. But over the years, he's learned to receive a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
Sure.
And so it's that lovely balance, like you're saying, when someone doesn't have any expectations and is happy whether you give them something or not, do something or not, remember or not, you can still hold your happiness irregardless of what else is going on. And that's such a nice breath of fresh air that you give someone, is you don't have to do something for Christmas, for my birthday, for Valentine's, for Mother's Day, for, whatever day. You don't have to do anything for those things. I'm going to celebrate those things if they're important to me. And whatever you do or don't do, it's a bonus, and if you come from that place of it's a bonus rather than it's an expectation that you put on that person, and you get your foot off the back of their neck about it energetically, even if you don't say it, it's the energetic, they better do something nice for my birthday, or they better take me somewhere, or, whatever you've got going on about it. If you can let go of that, you will receive so much more, but also you will feel so much better about yourself. You feel very dignified, and it's like that movie Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the guy Charlie compared to all those other spoiled bratty kids. It's like you see the difference. Charlie in the end won the whole thing because he was humble, and because he didn't have this "you owe me, you better give to me" that the kids did to Gene Wilder in that movie.
Right.
So I think that movie is a great lesson in who actually receives. And it's not the ones that have their hands on their hips with entitlement and all of that. It's the humble poor kid that actually comes through, that had, he'd be laying in bed with his two grandparents. They were all in the same room. And it's such a beautiful story of exactly what we're talking about, and how to, with humility, attract commitment from a place of open-handed gratitude for everything else the person does, and looking at what they do give. What they give is enough. What they give is enough. And, cut people some slack if they don't give you what you would like on the day that you would like it, and the way that you would like it, that you cut people some slack, and you free yourself from the burden of resentment if they don't do something.
You know what? Before we move on real quick, what you just said was like Oprah said, an aha moment. Like, so many of us, in my opinion, we are the cause of our own resentment. Like, we think somebody did something to us, which is why we resent them. But it's like, no, it's the story you're telling yourself is the reason you resent that person. And a lot of times the story we're telling ourselves, and again, there's always anomalies, because there's always people in the comment section like, well, in my situation, this is what happened, and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But
Marvin, just say that again, because the Zoom got caught and it was just buffering. Say again what you were just saying.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Um, about letting go of your own resentment, that you cause your own resentment.
Yeah. So I truly believe that a lot of us, we are the cause of our own resentment, but we give that responsibility to another person, and
Yeah.
we blame them for, and we start to resent them. But it's really the story that we're telling ourselves, and they really didn't do anything for the resentment to happen, but
Mm.
we created it because of our own thoughts or our own insecurities or our own problems that we haven't dealt with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that just, gave me that aha moment, like Oprah always likes to say, and realizing like, oh wow, like the resentment I feel towards you is not because of you, it's because of the story that I've been telling myself, and I need to change that story, because maybe it's
Mm.
not intentional, maybe it's another
Yes.
reason that I don't know of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And some things happen really fast from childhood. It's still ingrained in you. So when this happens, you just default to this. And that thing is resentment or anger or worry or anxiety or whatever. So, but that's on us. It's like they didn't cause it, they can't cure it. That's our bag to carry from childhood. And we have to consciously make an effort to work through those things. So, you talking about the old things we tell ourselves, that brings us to the point number three, my old stories and fears. What can I do about them when they start? This is a big question, too.
My old stories and fears. So number one, what I would say is, I would say stop listening to a lot of these law of assumption people on YouTube, because this problem isn't taken care of, in my opinion, because I've realized when I used to watch like a lot of other content creators, I realized that a lot of them were teaching, and I would read comments. I love reading comments, and I love engaging in comments. Like I have no problem clapping back at a subscriber or somebody that says a comment on any of my videos. So if you want smoke, Marv is here for the smoke. Understand that. I will clap back at you if you say something stupid in my comment section. I will leave it there for everybody to read. So don't get it twisted. All right. Now, what I was gonna say is damn, I lost my point. I got so hyped, I lost my point on what I was gonna say.
Just
Um
check under your chair. It fell on the ground.
hold on.
There it is.
I still can't find it. But so
Dear.
we were talking about
About the your old stories and fears, what to do about it.
yeah, okay, yeah. So a lot of these YouTubers are, when they're talking about old stories and fears, a lot of these law of assumption people are, I used to see them talk about, and I used to see people in the comments of their videos talk about, you don't need to do shadow work.
Yeah.
You don't need to go back in the past, and you don't need to do EFT. You don't need to go to therapy. You don't need to do it.
Mm.
Like, so many people, and it's specifically I'm talking to the Neville followers, the Neville law of assumption community. Some of you guys in this community are extremely toxic. And I would see that all the time. And what this third point that you brought up
Mm.
is the exact reason that this continues to happen when people have fear around this topic, is because they have not gone back to the past and dealt with it properly. Whether that
Mm.
means go to therapy, whether that means doing EFT or Ho'oponopono, you know what I mean? Because you
Yeah.
see a lot of people in the law of assumption community, they say, all you have to do is live in the end. That's all you have
Yeah.
to do is live in the end. Just assume that you're healed. Just assume. And I tell people all the time, it's not that easy. I understand in principle and in theory, it sounds, a lot of this law of assumption, law of attraction stuff sounds easy, but applying it is actually extremely hard. Extremely hard. And so, in my opinion, getting over this hurdle, you have to, like, maybe you do need to go to therapy. Maybe you do need to try EFT or Ho'oponopono, or take a different approach instead of trying to just assume that you are healed and whole. I mean, it's good to do that, but your
Mm.
traumas are different than the next person's traumas. Whatever you went through
Yeah.
in your life, your experiences are different. So you may have to take a different approach than an average manifester who hasn't gone through. Like me, I look at my life. I personally, in my opinion, the trauma, I don't consider myself as somebody that has trauma like that around a lot of areas, honestly. I look at how I grew up. I feel like I really can't complain about nothing, honestly. Yeah, I have some blocks in certain areas, but like trauma that a lot of people are going through in life, like I can't identify with any of that type of stuff. Even in relationship stuff, like a lot of traumas and things that people have gone through in relationships, like I can't identify with any of that. Money problems, parent problems, abuse problems. Like I literally can't. I don't know if you want to say I'm blessed or whatever, but I can't identify. So my blocks aren't the same blocks as somebody else that may have gone through all of that. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That doesn't mean like, you have a problem. It just means that your approach to manifestation is probably going to be different than mine.
Yes.
My affirmations are probably going to work a lot faster than your affirmations are going to work. My scenes are probably, because I give the example in some of my videos, and when I work with people one-on-one, I give the example of, say somebody's trying to manifest a specific person, but they can't, because every time they close their eyes, try to do an end scene, all they see is the original scene of them getting abused when they were in their first relationship. Right? And they haven't healed that.
Yeah.
So if you haven't healed that, every time you try to close your eyes to visualize, you can't visualize because that's all you see. So like Neville said, and Neville even says this, like I said earlier in the conversation, you have to go back and revise the sins of the past, because sin is the cause of the unrevised scenes of the past. So basically, Neville is basically saying you got to do therapy about your past, whatever it is. You got to go back and heal that.
Yeah. He just doesn't say it in those words, but yes, I agree. He just uses different words. And but with Neville, over the years, you've got to read between the lines that he's not using the terminology and the words that we use in 2023. So, and
Exactly.
I think, yeah, I mean, if you have old stories and fears, what to do with it, and my answer would have been exactly the same as yours. You must go back and clean up that whole big pile of suitcase stuff that's back then, that is connecting you to the present. And then when this happens with this person today, it scratches open the old wound and you go right back to being 12 years old in front of your mother or father, and you go back into that emotional state. So I agree. Any old stories that you're trying to override with imaginal scenes, scripting, vision boards, affirmations, forget all that. You can't ice a rotten cake. Do the inner child work with Ho'oponopono. Your body's like a suitcase. You got to get that stuff out. And the more you get it out, the lighter you feel. Then you're able to be more playful. You're able to be more flirty. You're able to be more letting go of your self-consciousness. You're able to be more non-judgmental about your physical being. So all of this work that you do from back there, 18 and going backwards in age, that's the work you need to do. And that law of assumption stuff, it's funny you mention it, because I'm seeing a lot of, yes, we only do law of assumption. But for those of you that have heard that, wonder about that, or maybe doing that, I would like to make a suggestion. It's like when you have 100-piece puzzle and you just do the top left-hand corner. It's the law of assumption is only one part of the puzzle. There's the law of attraction. There's the law of liberty, the law of detachment. There's a whole bunch of laws. You can't just pick out one law and learn only that and expect that that's going to be enough. And there is such a trend right now that, no, I just do law of assumption. You're really missing the whole picture if that's what you're doing. And it's a good place to start. But you know what? 25, 30 years ago, you know what it was? It was law of attraction. And that was the only law. And now the next law. But if you really do your research and you really read up on these laws, you need to know about the laws because they fit together. They are a package deal.
Absolutely.
It's like, triplets. You don't just talk about the one triplet. They've got brothers and sisters. It's like they came out at the same time. So even though they're individuals, they are still siblings that are connected like no other. And this is the same. The laws are connected, the laws dovetail together. And if you just try and pick one out, you're missing a whole galaxy of information. And be open-minded and do your research before you start saying things like, it's only law of assumption that I do. It's like there's lots of religions. You may pick one, but there's an awareness of the others, and there is a understanding that other religions have a place just like the one that, say, I believe in or you believe in or whatever you choose to follow. It's looking at the whole 100-piece puzzle. And I think this is really important, especially in the well-being community, because you can't really say the law of attraction community anymore, because there's the law of assumption community, there's the, see the whole. It is very important to be well-rounded and don't get fixated on one thing, because it is not the whole picture.
And not argue with each other, because
Yeah.
you don't want to. The thing that I don't want to see happen in this community is I don't want this to turn into religion, and it's already turned into religion because people are worshiping Neville.
Yes.
People are excluding people like Abraham Hicks.
Yes.
People are fighting over who's right, who's wrong. Law of assumption is right. Law of attraction is wrong. Law of attraction. There is no such thing as law of attraction. Like Agnes beautifully just stated, they all work together in unison. You can't have one law without the other. That's like saying gravity doesn't exist, but we can fly. Like, polarity exists, so in order for gravity to exist, that must mean like we're able to fly as well.
That's
what I mean?
it.
Masculine exists, so that must mean feminine exists. So all of these energies and all of these laws, like Anya said, they work together. And so let's stop arguing about who's right, who's wrong, turning this into a religion thing, and understand like it all coexists on purpose, intentionally.
It does. I think there's a little playlist I did about lots of the laws. I did one that was the 4 laws, and then there are other individual laws. So I'll put that playlist down below. And I will put down below any videos that Marvin and I have done about the friend zone, not being able to receive or attract commitment, and any fears about old stories. The YouTubes will be down below in the description, and I will also put Marvin's bits and pieces, his YouTube channel, his Instagram, and his EFT tapping down below for you as well. So thank you, Marvin. That was a good nutting out of lots of different bits and pieces, so hopefully that was helpful for those that are watching.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This was fun as always. And I'm ready for the clapbackers. So I'm ready. So anybody has anything negative, I can see it in the comment section now. Oh, he said this. This is a misogynistic comment that he made. He's a misogynist. I've been called that multiple times before from some of my TikTok videos. But
I'm gonna come over there and spank your bum all the way in US, all the way from UK. I'm coming over. See my little hand?
Oh man.
Well, if you want to say bye, I'll say bye, and then we'll log off.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. Hopefully you got something extremely valuable again from today's videos between Agnes and I. And I wish you guys all the success going into 2024.
Nice. Happy last year of the month, everyone. And may you reevaluate what you want, where you're at, and also relax, surrender, let go, be playful, and have fun. And it comes in so much more easily. Lots of love, and I'll see you as always on the channel and in another YouTube.